let's talk AFC. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Oh, so this is where all the quarterbacks are. Grossi, and today we are going to be shifting conferences. Of course, the past 4 days we have gone through every single division in the NFC, and now it's time to head over to the AFC, which promises to be an absolute gauntlet. Right now, the best QBs in the game, not named Jalen Hurts, are in the AFC. There's a ton of competition, and starting off with the AFC North, you can imagine that this division is probably going to be a dogfight. And if you're brand new and you haven't tuned into any of the other predictions, the way that this works is I go through each team, I'll kind of talk a little bit about some of the moves they made in the offseason, then I'll predict their floor and their ceiling based off their schedule, and at the very end, we'll rank them and see where I think the standings will shake up. So, with that being said, let's start off with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens. Man, I feel for Ravens fans. I really, really do, because it just seems like every year they got the team. They have an addition on offense, or everybody's healthy for a hot second, and then injuries happen. And I feel like every single season, at some point, Ravens fans are like this.
Pain. That's it.
And so here we are again. However, there were some changes this offseason. Not only did Lamar Jackson get a big-time deal after there were all those rumors about him potentially getting traded and that whole fiasco, which feels like it was years ago, but they went out and they got some wide receivers. Of course, the biggest one being Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, returning and hopefully being as efficient and great as he was when he was with LA. Because that short amount of time he was with the Rams, especially in the Super Bowl before he got hurt, he was putting up numbers. And the Ravens, they've had a need at wide receiver for quite some time. So with a healthy Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, a good wide receiver core, you then look to the running backs. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. I have been waiting for both of those guys to take over the league for quite some time. And I know that they're still battling with some issues and trying to get on the field, but overall, I think the Ravens have a good football team. It honestly just comes down to, are they able to stay healthy? Now, when looking at their schedule, they don't have the easiest one, mostly because they're in a division where there are going to be some really good teams, and there's some wildcard teams as well. Besides playing the Bengals and the Steelers, and if the Browns, if they're good, twice, on top of that, they're going to be playing teams like the 49ers, the Jaguars, the Chargers, and at home, they're playing teams like the Dolphins and the Lions, who are going to give them some problems. So I think the Ravens are set to be a good football team if they have that power running game and they have some wide receiver options. Lamar is healthy. I think they'll go far. They have potential to win this division. Again, the big if is their health. So because of their incredibly difficult schedule, I'm going to put their floor pretty low at 7-10. Now, I don't think they are going to be that bad, but they are playing some damn good contenders here. I have their ceiling all the way up at 10-7, so I do think that that 3-game shift is very, very possible. And hell, if they stay healthy, I think they can exceed that ceiling. It's going to just be a matter of, can they stay healthy? Can they get that passing game going? And if they do, I imagine the Ravens are going to do well. Then heading over to Cincinnati with the kitty goes meow, you got the Bengals. And the Bengals, they're primed to make another run. Joe Burrow is going to get paid $1 kajillion any day now. Their offense, we know how good they are. They have 3 legit receivers. I know P. Ryan left for running back, but Mixon is still back there, and I still think can be very effective. And that defense, I think, is sneakily underrated, especially that defensive line. Now, looking at them, they're going to have the same issue as the Ravens, not necessarily with health, but they are going to be going up against some really good opponents, not just within the division, but because they won the division last year, they get the tougher break. And speaking of breaks, if Joe Burrow does get hurt again, I imagine Bengals fans are going to start resorting to this.
That dude there, I need his prosthetic leg.
You need my what?
Besides the opponents within their division, they have some tough games against the 49ers, the Jaguars, the Chiefs, the Bills. All teams that are gonna give them some problems. However, I do think the Bengals have shown that grittiness. I think they are a very, very good football team, and Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. So I have their floor at 9-8, and I have their ceiling at 11-6. And again, you might think that's a little bit low. I just think that this division is going to be an absolute dogfight. And again, there is still the unknown of the Cleveland Browns, who we're about to get to. But overall, I think the Bengals have a really good shot at winning the division, though it might be more difficult than they may have intended. Then you got one of the wild card teams in the AFC, and that is the Cleveland Browns. And let's just get this out of the way real quick. If the Cleveland Browns are bad this year, it's going to fall on Deshaun Watson. And I imagine Deshaun Watson's response is going to be this.
It could literally be any one of us.
But in reality, his cap hit is about to go up significantly over the next 3 seasons after this year, and it is not going to be very friendly. Of course, the Browns, they went all in, trading a haul to the Texans to get Deshaun Watson. He only played a little bit last year, didn't look so good, but improved a tiny bit near the end of the season. And there are some concerns about if Deshaun Watson is going to be old Deshaun Watson of the Texans. Now, throw on top of that, their defense should be very good. Of course, they have arguably the best running back in the NFL in Nick Chubb, who should be getting even more carries now that Kareem Hunt is gone. I think they do have some really good receivers, Amari Cooper being one of them. It's just going to come down to their quarterback play. They did keep DTR, and he is going to be their primary backup, and I like that move a lot. But the Browns really need Deshaun Watson to work out. And as I've talked about for the past 2 teams in this division, it's not going to be a cakewalk. Besides the division, they are going to be playing teams like the Jets, the Jaguars, the 49ers. So those aren't the easiest teams. And I am expecting a little bit of rust from Deshaun Watson. And again, out of this division, they are the question mark. So I am going to set their floor a little bit lower. I'm going to have their floor be 6-11, which is going to be 1 less than the Ravens, just because I don't know what they're going to do at QB. And their ceiling, I have them all the way up at 10-7, because the Browns, if Deshaun Watson is good, and if he's able to play anything like he was in Houston, they're going to be a dangerous football team. So I have their ceiling at 10-7. I think it's going to be a tough road to get there, but again, that's all going to fall on their QB. And then finally, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's some excitement going on in Pittsburgh. After a great preseason, Kenny Pickett looked really, really good. I think expectations have gotten a bit higher. And after that preseason, I imagine Steelers fans were feeling like this.
That man is a god.
And I think for me, the Steelers are a wild card team this year. I think that they can surprise a lot of people. Their defense should still be good. That offensive line looks like it has improved, which is just going to make it easier for Najee Harris to run the ball. It's going to provide more protection for Kenny Pickett, and he's going to be able to get the ball to Deontay Johnson or George Pickens, who just looks like he is going to be a monster. So I think they are going to be a very balanced football team. I would argue they have the best coach in the division in Mike Tomlin. And again, their schedule isn't super easy. Outside of the division, they are playing teams like the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Jaguars, the Packers might give them some problems, and the Patriots, who have a really good defense. However, I just really believe in Mike Tomlin, and what I've seen out of Kenny Pickett, if that translates at all to the regular season, they could be a problem. So I have their floor actually at 8-9 and their ceiling at 11-6. They don't have the toughest schedule outside of the division. It seems like they have a little bit of an easier time. They were nearly a playoff team last year, and I think Kenny Pickett coming into the system for another year, you might see some magic happen. So if we are to rank all of these teams based off of their ceiling, I have the Bengals winning the division at 11-6. Then you would have the Steelers, and then you would have a mix between the Ravens and the Browns. I think you can have 4 winning teams coming out of the AFC North. And like I said, I think these teams are just going to beat the crap out of each other. Somebody's going to have to emerge victorious. And right now I have the Bengals, but watch out, because there's going to be fireworks in the North this year. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Before we get out of here, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new Patreon and YouTube members. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have Lando Commando, Rocket, and Sam DePrima. And over on the YouTube side of things, joining the Grossi Posse Plus, we have Zach Florek. A big shout out and thank you to you all. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, Go Pack Go.